Revelation 17:10-11, the mystery of the seven kings. The mysteries of the book of Revelation have fascinated scholars and believers throughout the centuries. Among its most intriguing passages is Revelation 17:10-11, which reveals an enigmatic prophecy about seven kings and a mysterious beast. They are also seven kings. 5 have fallen, one is, the other has not yet come, and when he comes, he must remain a little while. The beast which was and is not is himself also an eighth and is one of the seven, and he goes to destruction. What does this coded message mean? Who are these kings, and why is the beast called the eighth? Today we'll unravel this prophetic enigma that has implications for our world today. Context of the passage. To understand this text, we need to comprehend its context. In chapter 17 of Revelation, the Apostle John receives a vision of a woman sitting on a scarlet beast. This beast has 7 heads and 10 horns. An angel explains to John that the 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sits, and they are also 7 kings. This vision is part of a series of revelations about the final events of human history. The woman is identified as Babylon, the Great, representing a religious and political system that opposes God. The beast on which she sits represents the worldly power that supports this system. The 7 kings, interpretations. There are several interpretations about who these 7 kings might be. Let's examine the main ones. In the first interpretation, the 7 kings represent world empires that dominated the known world and impacted God's people. The 5 that have fallen would be Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, Medo-Persia, and Greece. The 6th, which is, at the time John wrote, would be the Roman Empire. And the 7th, which has not yet come and will remain for a little while, would be a future empire. In the second interpretation, the 7 kings would be Roman emperors. Considering that John wrote Revelation during Domitian's rule, the 5 who have fallen would be Augustus, Tiberius, Caligula, Claudius, and Nero. The 6th, which is, would be Domitian. And the 7th, which has not yet come, would be a future emperor. There is also a third interpretation that sees these kings as representations of kingdoms or systems that manifest throughout history, not necessarily in a rigid chronological sequence, but as manifestations of evil opposing God's kingdom. The 8th king and the beast. The text tells us something even more surprising. The beast which was and is not is himself also an 8th and is one of the 7, and he goes to destruction. This is one of the most mysterious declarations in Revelation. The beast is identified as an 8th king, but one that is of the 7. What does this mean? Some scholars interpret that this 8th king will be a final manifestation of evil, a kind of resurrection or reincarnation of one of the previous 7. Others see here a reference to the Antichrist, a figure who will arise in the end times as the supreme manifestation of evil. The phrase was and is not suggests something that existed, then ceased to exist, and will exist again. This relates to the idea of a mortal wound that is healed, mentioned in Revelation 13:3, when one of the beast's heads seemed wounded to death, but its deadly wound was healed. The fact that this 8th king goes to destruction indicates his final destiny. He will be destroyed by God's power, as will all forces opposing the divine kingdom. The relevance for today. Why should this biblical passage matter to us today? Because it reveals that history is not random. There is a divine plan being executed, even amidst the apparent victories of evil forces. Empires come and go, leaders rise and disappear, political and economic systems emerge and fall, but God remains sovereign over all. The book of Revelation wasn't written to terrify us, but to give us hope. When we look at the current world, we see conflicts, injustices, and suffering. We might ask ourselves, Where are we in the prophetic timeline? Are we witnessing the emergence of the seventh or even the eighth king? Regardless of how we interpret the details of this prophecy, the central message is clear. However powerful the kingdoms of this world may seem, they are temporary. God's kingdom is eternal. Conclusion. Revelation 17:10-11 invites us to look beyond appearances and see the spiritual reality behind worldly events. It reminds us that even when evil seems to triumph, its victory is illusory and temporary. As followers of Christ, we are called to remain faithful, even in difficult times. Biblical prophecy doesn't exist to satisfy our curiosity about the future, but to shape our faithfulness in the present. May this passage inspire us to live with discernment and hope, knowing that, in the end, the true King of Kings will establish his eternal kingdom of justice and peace. If you enjoyed this study, don't forget to like, share with friends, and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Leave your comment telling what you thought about this interpretation of Revelation 17:10-11. See you in the next video.